I have to get my glasses out. I wrote this, it made me feel pretty good. I wish my daughter Missy had been here, but she's on her way. She missed a flight in New York, and she's on the way. She'll probably walk in right now. Is Missy here? Yeah. Okay. All right. It's a little eulogy that I read for my great friend Timmy, and I'll go ahead and start. I first met Timmy in grade school. He was from the other school, St. Agnes, where they called him Meathead. When I asked him why they called him Meathead, he told me about Darryl Petty. It seems that Darryl drew a picture of a steak. He put eyes, nose, and mouth on it. He added legs and arms, and he wrote Timmy with an arrow pointing to the steak. Timmy said, I was steakhead for a while, but after a while I transitioned into meathead. Now Darryl went to heaven shortly after high school. And I'm sure right now Timmy's having a conversation with Darryl about that little nickname he gave him. And I don't know if you knew this, but Timmy had a very large, nasty scar on his thigh. He told me he was playing sandlot football and jumped for a pass right into an exposed, cut-off pipe. It tore a gash in his leg down to the muscle. He ran home, and Papa Bear loaded him in the car for a trip to the ER. He said he was bleeding profusely and in excruciating pain, but that didn't keep the bear from stopping at Harry's Curb Market to pick up a bag of tobacco for the ride. Now, Timmy was a tough kid. I remember a JV football game against Grinnell. Coach Rump sends the play in. Terry Groves calls 36 sweep. This was our bread and butter play. We'd run it 100 times. So when we broke huddle, Timmy came over to me and he grabbed me by the face mask, and with a frightful look on his eyes, he says, "What do I do?" He had hit somebody so hard on the previous play that he lost his memory. So I said, "Run left and take out the first defender you see." And he did, and we scored. And we went undefeated that year. We had a great team. Coach Rump still here? No, he left. That was a good team. He was a great athlete. All the coaches at St. Augustine High School wanted him. And he wanted to go. Primarily because he could play baseball there. We couldn't play at St. Joe. And that was his favorite sport as a kid. But the Bear said no. You got to go to St. Joe. And the Bear made him work to pay for his and his sister Terry's tuition to go to St. Joe. So it must have been something growing up with 6 brothers and 2 sisters. If you haven't been to the Bear's house, there's a large dining table that looks like a picnic table in the dining room. Timmy told me that the Bear used to have to buy a gallon of milk and 2 boxes of cornflakes every day to feed that bunch. Timmy told me a story about the time he had Joel over for fried chicken. Joel was sitting at the table with Terry, Timmy, Beanie, Bruce, Tommy, Kevin, Chris, and Jerry. Renee was too small. So the Bear comes out with a platter of fried chicken. So as customary, Joel the guest gets first grab at the chicken. So feeling modest, Joel picks like a wing. So Timmy said to Joel, "You better take more than that. This is your last chance." So Joel took another piece, and by the time the platter got around to Jerry, the youngest, there was nothing there but a chicken back. I don't think Jerry knew there was anything but chicken but backs until he left home. So most people don't know that Timmy was the king of geography. He really excelled in this subject. He once told my daughter Missy and I that he wanted to be a topographer. I looked at her and she looked at me and we said, "What?" Well, he didn't follow his dream of making maps, which is what a topographer does. But instead, he followed the family tradition and became a mason. First working for the Bear, David and Buddy, and then later for J.Y. Our paths didn't cross much of the days following our high school, but for some reason, I was out with him the night he met the love of his life at quarters night at St. George's Tavern. She was a tall redhead from Flagler College. It wasn't long after that he asked me to be his best man. I was a bit taken back because I didn't hang out with him much in those days, but I said yes. And like what any good best man would do, I painted his shoes. If you're not familiar with a Catholic wedding, after the entrance ceremony, the bride and groom kneel in front of the altar, exposing the soles of their shoes to the entire congregation. So as the laughter started going out through the church, Father Judge Trainer stopped the mass and said, "Okay, what does it say? Help me!" Exclamation point. I'll never forget the look that Timmy and Lisa gave me across that altar. And I dare not look at Lisa's mother. After marriage, Lisa helped transform Timmy from a damn good mudslinger to a successful businessman. She exposed him to the finer things of life and introduced him to the social league in St. Augustine. But he never lost sight of his roots. He began having children, always hoping for a little boy. First came Aaron, then Forrest, and then the last chance for a boy, Emily. And that's why he affectionately refers to Emily as Eddie. He loved those girls so much, he would do the world for them. He showed them the world, and actually, I'm going to tell you, he loved those girls. And fortunately, Emmy gave him a little boy he always wanted, Kai. And although they only had a brief time together, that short time was so precious. It really was. Timmy loved sports, the Gators, fishing, skeet, the sandbar, motorcycles, cigars, Costa Rica, scotch, diving for lobsters, his friends, and maybe most of all, after friends and family, was his faithful companion, Kramer. And that dog really helped him through some very tough times. Speaking of lobsters, most people don't know that Timmy almost met his demise 30 years ago. We were at our annual lobster dive in the Keys having dinner, drinking, and laughing, when all of a sudden, Timmy jumped out of his chair, turned, and looked into the mirror. When he turned back around, he was grabbing his throat. So Norm jumped up and gave him a couple of good Heimlich thrusts, but to no avail. So Rick jumped up, took over, and gave him a couple more, but he still couldn't breathe. So Rick's thrust got more and more aggressive, to the point that he was actually bringing Timmy off the ground. And at that point, we had no phone, no cell phone, so I was headed out the door, run down the street to find something. And as I was getting up, something flew past my head. It was a big chunk of meat. And we started laughing. Except for Timmy. He was seriously shaken. And he profusely thanked Rick for saving his life, which made us laugh even more. And with every thank, we laughed more and more and more. Then Rick went over and picked up the chunk of meat, and he noticed that it had one molar indentation on it. And Timmy blamed me for buying tough meat. So Rick froze the piece of meat. And okay, well, I'm going to stick to the script. Rick froze the piece of meat and would bring it out at every dive. And we had some great times in the Keys. Okay, here's the tough part. Timmy lived a great life in the 90s and 2000, mid-2000s. His business flourished. His friendship, just expanded crazy. He moved his family into a beautiful home on Dolphin Drive. And we all love that house. And all those $1 million sunsets. He threw great parties, and he was generous with his help. He offered it to our family many occasions for special functions. And he would always say, "Never a dull moment on Dolphin Drive." But the good times didn't last forever. He found himself raising 3 girls by himself. The Great Recession took his home and all of his toys. Next, he had to put his faithful companion to sleep. That was the hard day. And then the cancer. But he never complained. Even with all those misdiagnoses, he remained calm. And he endured all that suffering with that tenacious toughness he displayed all his life. My heart goes out to the girls, his friends and family, all who loved him so much. We all know that life is short,